NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play. What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bring your latest and not much going on right now Brooklyn Nets news. Yeah, not much going on right now. It's been a little over a week since my last episode, which was about the Steve Nash hiring, which was big news, but now it's kind of old news. It's currently the conference finals, but, doesn't really include the Nets at all. So not really caring at all right now about the Heat and Celtics and the Nuggets and the Lakers. I mean, whatever. Not, it's fun to watch if you like basketball, but it's not the Nets. We're here for the Nets. So, and I'm not going to talk about that, but there's still things to discuss regarding the Nets and the roster. And so I thought this would be a good time to do the episode of who should the Nets keep? Who should the Nets bring back on this team next year? And, with Kevin Durant coming in and Kyrie being healthy, what should this team look like next year? So I'm going to do this episode. I'm going to say what I would do. And I want to make that very clear because what I would do if I'm SeanMarx is probably completely different than what he would do or what he actually will do. This happens a lot. I have a lot of ideas or philosophies that I think the Nets should do, and only in the history of NetsBoy have the Nets ever actually done something I expected them. Actually, 2 times. 3 times, actually. Maybe there's a lot more. 3 times in the history of this Nets franchise, or at least when I was a Nets fan, which has been 20 years now. Wow. Yeah, it's been almost exactly 20 years. Actually, I think it's been exactly 20 years. About 20 years, give or take. I don't know. I can't exactly pinpoint the exact first day of my Nets fandom. But anyway, it's about 20 years now that I've been a Nets fan. Only 3 times that I can remember the Nets actually doing something I expected or wanting them to do. The first time was when they drafted Brook Lopez years and years ago. I remember, I said, Nets need to get him. The year they drafted Isaiah Whitehead, and the year they drafted Jared Allen, which was a couple years ago. So those are the, so I guess the draft is the only thing that, I guess maybe I'm on the same wavelength with the Nets when it comes to the draft. But those are the 3 times that I said, the Nets need to draft this guy, and they got him. And so, hey. But anyway, so why is that important? The point is, this is my opinion and what I think. And so it may and probably won't happen. So let's just start about what I expect about this team next season, the starting lineup. This is the starting lineup I envision if I'm the Nets. I'm expecting the Nets to bring back Joe Harris. Joe Harris says he wants to be here with the Nets. Nets say they want him. Yes, they're going to go with the luxury tax. Joe Asai already gave the thumbs up to SeanMarx to go ahead and spend what you need to spend. So I expect Joe Harris to be back. So I expect the starting lineup next year to be Kyrie Irving, Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant as the power forward, and it should be Jared Allen. And I know it won't be. This is the first I know it won't be situation. But to me, it should be Jared Allen, okay? I know it's going to end up being DeAndre Jordan. The Nets are probably going to end up trading Jared Allen, but I would hold on to Jared Allen. I think he's a better player than DeAndre Jordan. We saw how great he played in the restart. I would make it Jared Allen. And then my bench, I would have Spencer Dinwiddie, Garrett Temple, who has a team option, which the Nets should pick up. Very, very team-friendly option. Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, who also has a very friendly team option that the Nets should pick up as the backup small forward. Torian Prince as the backup power forward. And then DeAndre Jordan as the backup center. That's what I want to see as the rotation. Because that is an unbelievable rotation. And then players like Nicholas Claxton, who everyone thinks has the opportunity to be a rotational player. Rodion Kurucs, who I'm getting a little frustrated with, but he's still solid. I like to see players like him. They're under contract. John Amusa, I want him gone at this point. I'm so done with that guy. I don't understand why he's so bad. I understand he's young, but getting drafted. I remember when the Nets drafted Musa. The scouting report on him was he was the second best European player in the draft next to Luka Doncic. It went Luka Doncic and then John Musa. Well, what a big gap that is. Because, wow. So, I'm done with Musa. But so if I'm the Nets, but the Nets have him under contract, so he's going to be there. But I would trade him. And then I would, if I'm the Nets, I'm trying to keep either Chris Chiozza or Tyler Johnson. And now, I don't think Tyler Johnson will be there. I think he's played so well that some team in the restart that some team is going to offer him a legit contract. Because the reality is the Nets just don't have the flexibility to really bring in any big name free agent or really any notable free agent. I think the best thing they can do is they can do a mid-level exception for I think $5.6 million or 3 years, $18 million or something like that, which you could get a solid rotational player for that, but I don't think you're going to be able to get a really big free agent. And I think Tyler Johnson's going to get offered more than that, as he should. And I like Tyler Johnson in a role of like a third string point guard role, like with this Nets team. Like, so I would try my best to bring back Tyler Johnson. If I couldn't bring him back, I would go after Chris Chiozza, who I feel like is perfect for that third string / fourth string point guard role. You can sign him to a 2-way contract, and and he can be in the G League, continuing to develop his shot and everything. Like, that's what I would do if I'm the Nets, right? So I would basically bring back those guys. Those are the guys I would bring back. Everyone else, don't need them. Don't need Lance Thomas. Don't need Dante Hall. Don't need Jeremiah Martin. Okay, don't need these guys. Don't need Justin Anderson. Don't need these guys. I'm looking at their roster. Is there anybody I didn't name? I mean, Wilson Chandler. I wouldn't mind them bringing back Wilson Chandler if he wants to re-sign for like a veteran minimum contract, but he's a free agent, so don't really need him. And then obviously, the last guy would be, Jamal Crawford, who, look, a lot of people probably say, NetsBoy, we need Jamal Crawford. And I'm just like, listen, I like Jamal Crawford. I think, he's a fun player to watch. He can score, but next year the Nets don't need him. They don't. With that team that they've got, as long, unless it gets decimated with injuries, which you never know, the Nets don't need a guy who can, who will play 20 minutes a game, who can give you 10 to 15 points a game and not really do much else other than score. Because other than locker room presence, Jamal Crawford at this point of his career can just get you buckets, which is great. But when you got Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie on a team with Joe Harris, like, I don't think how much you really need another guy to score. So as much as I like Jamal Crawford, I don't see him coming back. So those guys, I wouldn't even try. But those other players that I mentioned, Kurucs, Chiozza, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Claxton, I forgot Claxton's name. Claxton, and I guess Musa because he's under contract. Let's keep those guys as the extended depth of the Nets and the roster. So basically, I'm almost saying the Nets have the same as team they had last year, except just sprinkling Kevin Durant in it. And that's the way it should be. And that's what I would do if I'm SeanMarx. I would keep this team intact, a team that we have not yet seen fully healthy. Even without Kevin Durant, with Kyrie Irving, we barely saw this team fully healthy, right? It was always with some sort of injury. So I love the depth. To me, the depth is the key to this Nets team, and I understand the argument is going to be chemistry. Can these players play all well together? Can you really have 3 ball-dominant guards and LeVert, Dinwiddie, and Kyrie play well with Kevin Durant? Probably not. But you know what? If you can get 2 out of the 3 playing well in any particular game, and they just kind of rotate, who wouldn't sign up for that? Like if you get, Dinwiddie and Kyrie playing well one game, but LeVert struggles, but the Nets win, would you take that? Would you take Dinwiddie and LeVert playing well and Kyrie struggling, but the Nets win? Would you take Kyrie and LeVert playing well and then the Nets win? Like, as long as they win, I don't mind that. Now, if one guy's constantly struggling, immensely with the whole thing, then I can understand it. But, the truth is, I want to see this. I want to see Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan playing, basically the same amount of minutes, like 24 minutes each, right? Like, why not? Maybe give whoever's playing better at the time gets, the extended minutes, Why not? Because they have different skill sets. DeAndre Jordan's a better rebounder and a good defender, but lacks any sense of offensive ability at all other than dunking. But then Jarrett Allen, as a more polished offensive player, a better shot blocker, but not as great of a rebounder. But still, their games kind of like work together. One guy comes, like, I want is that. I want that. I would love to see the Nets hit a second unit that I just named. And you know what? If Steve Nash, I almost said Kenny Atkinson. Sorry. Or Jock Vaughn. If Steve Nash decides that he wants to start Garrett Temple and put Karis LeVert coming off the bench with Spencer Dinwiddie, I'm okay with that too because, LeVert would still probably play like 30 minutes a game, 32 minutes. And you just have like, Garrett Temple playing only like 20 or so. Like, it would still work. Like, I just want to see this team. And I know, like, everyone's saying, the Nets need a third star. The Nets need a third star. They need a trade. The Nets don't need a third star. Like, they don't. Like, especially if it requires them losing this depth. Okay? And, like, you know what? The Nets already have a third star. NetsDog. Joe, come here. Come on. This is your time. You were asking for this. Oh. NetsDog has something to say about this Nets third star, right? What up, Net fans? NetsDog here. Long time no see. Bringing you in your woof woof Brooklyn Nets news. Yes, listen up. Listen up, everyone. NetsBoy is 100% correct. The Nets do not need a third star. They have one in Karis LeVert. He is legit the third star on the Nets. We saw how well he played in the restart, averaging over 25 points a game, 6 assists, and 4 or 5 rebounds. He was the face of the Nets in the restart, led them to a 5-3 record, and made the Nets respectable and solidified them in the 7th seed. There is no reason for the Nets to trade Karis LeVert because he is the third star. He can play off the ball better than you think because he's better than you think at spotting up and shooting. He shot over 40% from 3 in the restart, and not all of that was dribbling and shooting. It was catch and shooting as well. I think it would be great if they keep him and they play him alongside Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and you will see a successful Nets team. So I don't want to hear any more of these rumors and any of this speculation about trading LeVert, because he is the key to victory. So there, I said it. So let's go. Let's go Nets. Let's go Karis LeVert. Wow! Let's go. Set it off. Okay, I'm going to sleep now. Okay. Thanks, NetsDog. Yeah, NetsDog really wanted to kind of poking his head. NetsDog really wanted to make that point. And he's right. The Nets don't need a third star, especially, like I said, at the expense of what they would have to give up. Like, who's out there? The only guy that I would be okay with the Nets really going out there and getting and giving up almost their entire team, that's Bradley Beal. Because, yes, a team of Bradley Beal, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, and Joe Harris, if you keep Joe Harris, and, DeAndre Jordan, because I'm assuming he wouldn't be touched in the trade either, that's a great team. But you're ruining your depth because the word on the street is you would need to trade Dinwiddie, LeVert, Jarrett Allen, and Taurean Prince just to get Bradley Beal. Well, now where's your depth at? Now I would say bring back Jamal Crawford and Tyler Johnson as best you can because you need those guys for depth. So I'm not a fan of it. Like, if you could get Bradley Beal or another star player, because I know Drew Holiday's the latest rumor, right? The rumor I heard is Drew Holiday is someone the Nets are looking after. And I think Drew Holiday's a very good player. But to me, he's not better than Karis LeVert. Which is interesting, though, because the rumor was that the Nets would trade Dinwiddie and Jarrett Allen as the focal point around the package and maybe throw in Musa and draft picks for Drew Holiday. Now, look, I actually wouldn't mind that. That's one of the few situations I wouldn't mind because it wouldn't involve LeVert. If the Nets do that trade, hey, I would do that. I like Dinwiddie as much as the next guy, but Drew Holiday is a great defensive player, can play on and off the ball. You could start him and have LeVert come off the bench, or he could come off the bench. I mean, I think that's a great trade, and I would do it. I mean, and I like Jared Allen too, but at the end of the day, Nicholas Claxton has an opportunity to develop and be the backup center. So, like, that one I would do. I would do that trade. Jared Allen, Dinwiddie, and I think it said Musa and a few draft picks for Drew Holiday. That was the rumor. I would do that, but at the same time, I still don't really want them to do that. Like, I would do it, but I don't want them to do that. I still think I want to see this team as is. Right? I want to see this team as is. And I just want to see what they can do. And look, if they struggle, if they start like 500 out of the gate or worse, like after 20 games, if they're 10-10 next season, or worse than that, okay, maybe the Nets should try to consider blowing it up. Not blowing it up, but make a move for another star and solidify the roster. But I just want to see it. Other moves that they could do, maybe they can go out there and try to trade for LaMarcus Aldridge. I heard that. Maybe put a package around Jared Allen. I wouldn't mind that either. But once again, I don't want to include Caris LeVert. The only trade to me that I feel like the Nets can do that should or could include Caris LeVert is for Bradley Beal. Because the way I look at it, there's no other player available that the Nets could get that's really better than Caris LeVert. There's not. Let's think about it. Who else is out there? Zach LaVine? Zach LaVine is very good and a borderline star player, but I don't think he's better than the Caris LeVert, or at least I'd rather have Caris LeVert. Blake Griffin? We all know how much the NetsBoy hates Blake Griffin. Heck no. I don't even want the Nets to trade anybody for Blake Griffin, because that's one that I heard, right? And then we LaMarcus Aldridge, we talked about him. DeMar DeRozan, people have been throwing him out there. But once again, is he really better than Caris LeVert at this point? Like, at this point of his career? Maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, but at this point, you see what I'm saying? Aaron Gordon, people are talking about him. Would you rather have Caris LeVert or him? That's what I'm trying to say. And so as long as, now, the other guys now, Jared Allen and Dinwiddie and Prince, and Musa, you know what? I can see, and I can get behind the Nets trading 2 of those guys to get one of those other players, except for Blake Griffin. But I still don't want them to do it. And I will end with this note. This is the last thing I'll say before I wrap up this episode. There is one other rumor of a player that the Nets could go out there and get that I've been hearing about. And if they do get this player, I'll be 100% okay with the Nets trading Jared Allen. That is Serge Ibaka. I have heard this rumor from several different sources and several people. What's a peeper? People. That Kevin Durant is trying to recruit Serge Ibaka to come to the Nets because they're good friends and so on and so forth. And Serge Ibaka would love to win another championship. And remember, I said the Nets will have that $5.6 million exception. That could be all that it takes to get Serge Ibaka to come to the Nets to play for a chance to win another championship. Or the 3-year, $18 million middle exception. Whatever it is, that could be enough to land him. He's worth more. Don't get me wrong, but he might take less to come to the Nets. And if that's the case, I'm 100% okay with the Nets trading Jared Allen because then Serge Ibaka could be the backup center. So, hey, you know what? Maybe that's SeanMarx's long-term plans. Maybe he's going to trade Dinwiddie and Allen and Musa to get Drew Holiday to be the backup point guard / shooting guard off the ball, right? And then sign Serge Ibaka as the backup center and still keep Nicholas Claxton as depth. I don't know. I really don't know. And I will also say this. The Nets better not trade Nicholas Claxton in any package. Because Nicholas Claxton, to me, has the potential to be a legit star in this league. I don't know if it's going to happen, but he has the potential. We saw it last year in small chunks how good of a player Nicholas Claxton could be. And I think in 2 or 3 years, Nicholas Claxton's going to be like a 20.8 rebound guy on any given night and be a major player for the Nets in the future. I just want to point that out. So I don't want him included in any trade either. So, there you have it. So let me wrap this up. We're nearing 20 minutes of this video. I didn't want this to go much longer than that, if at all. So there you have it. That's what I would do, and which is basically, in summary, nothing. Bring back Joe Harris, bring back Luwawu-Cabarrot, bring back Garrett Temple, and run out there with this team that the Nets would have had last year, just throwing Kevin Durant in there. See what happens before you decide to make a trade or do anything else. Like NetsDog said, it's all about Karis LeVert is the true third star, and all about this team developing the chemistry to build for a championship. Okay, let me know what you guys think. This is the official finale, I guess you can say, of this season of NetsBoy. My next NetsBoy episode will be probably after the NBA season, whenever the heck that would be, unless there's some other crazy news that pops up. You know, right now we're looking around November, so maybe end of October. I think the playoffs are supposed to go all the way into the end of October. So sometime end of October, November will be the new NetsBoy episode, in which will be like the new season, and we'll talk about the off season and the moves and the draft that will be coming up at that point, and what I want the Nets to do, which will kind of be like a continuation or a reminder of this episode, but still ways away. So let me know what you guys think. What players you think the Nets should keep, and what you want to see moving forward. So comment, subscribe. Well, hopefully people have been subscribing. Comment, share, all that good stuff. And let's keep it rolling. So until then, this is NetsBoy and NetsDog, who's completely ran away at this point. And, signing off.